Valheim, a game about Vikings. What do you want from me? We begin our journey with a loading screen, followed by a Star Wars style slew of words scrolling way too fast as a Valkyrie carries me down into my very own world. You land surrounded by stones with inscriptions of the various bosses in the game, with each residing in a unique environment that you must explore. However, we are starting the game with a twist this time around. Every boss in the game gives you a unique power that will help you navigate the world better. The powers in this game can be immensely helpful, cutting out a lot of unnecessary time. We decided to try the game starting with every power, and therefore every boss trophy already hung. There was one trophy left, however, that of the boss released in the newest update. We also brought over pretty capes. Don't worry, they don't really affect the gameplay other than looking nice. With all that out of the way, it was time to begin our playthrough like any survival game, by decimating the immediate environment. After spending a bit of time scrounging around like a sewer rat, I was finally ready to make my first item, a stone axe. Now I could destroy the homes of hundreds of forest creatures. You may have noticed all the health I've been losing from my various murder, and that's where these mushrooms come in. After marking them on my map for later, I gobble one up. Valheim has a variety of foods, which aren't required, but give you some extra health and stamina, which I needed if I was going to continue my war on everything natural. I give Burrito his cape, and we decide to take on some wild boar. We decide to pick some raspberries. At this point, we had ethically gathered a pretty good number of resources, so I felt it would be a good move to start creating a shelter. Our first step would be to build a hammer. Now construction on the new house can begin. I wanted to chop some more wood for the house with the help of the Elder's Power, which drastically speeds up wood cutting. I finished what I like to call the shit shack and crafted a cooking station, so I could begin cooking my resources. After some more resource gathering, I started to hunt down some flint, which is possibly the least destructive activity I've done so far. Flint allows you to craft a much larger variety of items, so this was a pretty necessary endeavor. While I was out, I stumbled upon a 1-star deer, which yields double the resources of a normal deer. Thankfully for me, this deer must have been abandoned as a fawn and never taught to run away from predators because he stood still and endured the absolute thrashing I was giving to him. He managed to just barely get away, and after chasing him around for a little while and getting some sort of mercenaries sicked on me, the majestic creature took to the seas. I tried to give chase, but he was too quick. I took back to the shore and stalked him, eagerly awaiting his return to land. Finally, the proud beast had let his guard down, and I sprinted towards him. His evasive maneuvers were as fluid as ever, but I hit him with a flying crane kick. Luckily for me, his dead body disappears so quickly that I barely have time to process guilt. I continued my resource gathering as the sun began to set, and I was suddenly quite chilly in the brisk night air. After a short jog back home, I was ready to get some sleep after my busy day of ecocide. However, my dreams of dreaming were quickly halted by a skeleton. I decided to put on the old mittens and give him a round of fisticuffs, but he wasn't quite so respectable and brought a lengthy knife to a fistfight. I said, "Oh, so you want to fight dirty, pal? I can fight dirty," as I called over one of the goons to beat his ass after I parried him. Now, it was time to build a bed and get a good night's rest. Good morning. I built the chopping block to unlock a bunch of new recipes, and I crafted a flint axe and some leather trousers. With the flint axe, I went to gather some more wood, and was nearly beheaded by a rogue tree. Luckily for me, I'm short as a stone. I added a few improvements to the house, including everyone's favorite survival structure, the chest. Now I could finally empty my load. Good to get it out of your system at least once a week. With my food cooked and my workbench upgraded, I activated the power of Eikthyr to begin my next quest. Crafting Stagbreaker. I made my way into the Black Forest, the second biome in Valheim, where the game truly starts to get dangerous. The creatures here are stronger and more aggressive, like your dad when he came home and the dishes weren't done. The main purpose of being here was to try to find a pine tree, as the Stagbreaker required a special kind of wood, if you know what I'm saying. I encountered many dangers on my hunt for a pine tree, watching a local get gangbanged by a group of thugs.
That is a lot of skeletons, bro.
After getting chased away from pine trees by goons, I finally decided to stick to a pine tree in hopes of pitting the rival gangs against each other. It was largely successful. And with a few hearty chops, the core wood was mine, and the recipe for the ultimate weapon was unlocked. On my way out, I gave old Steven here the what for as I beat his bony ass senseless. Now we were back at the base, and while looking through my storage, Eikthyr rallied the creatures of the forest.
Oh shit.
So I went to bed. Valheim has a mechanic called a raid, where groups of enemies will come to swarm your base. Eikthyr, a spirit of the forest, was torn apart from witnessing the deaths of so many peaceful creatures. In all his fury and rage, he summoned his mightiest onslaught, hell-bent on ending our ecocide once and for all. However, this gave me the perfect cover of self-defense, as I bare-knuckled every last one of them. With that really hard side quest out of the way, it was finally time to create the ultimate weapon.
Stagbreaker.
This would be the tool I used to break the most legendary stag in Valheim, Eikthyr himself. I followed that up with a bow, some arrows, and a leather helmet. I needed only one more deer hide to complete the last piece of leather armor, and luckily ran across one.
Damn.
I decided to give Stagbreaker a try, and let me tell you, it was worth the effort. Just listen. Such severe and disgusting overkill. I encountered another deer, this time only missing the first arrow. With that last piece of deer hide, I was finally able to craft the final piece of leather armor, the tunic. I was looking like quite the Chad now. And as my 100th journey through the Meadows was coming to an end, there was only one more unholy act of desecration left to complete. It was time to slay Eikthyr. After a few minutes, we were upon his altar, where we would summon up the beast himself. The stone here says to hunt his kin, which is Valheim's way of telling you that genocide is okay, as long as it's Eikthr's family. Then, suddenly, just as we were about to start the fight, I had to go to the bathroom. Upon my return, we made the sacrifice of 2 deer trophies, and I ate my heartiest meals. We activated the power of bone mass to take less damage, and Eikthyr to use less stamina. We were armed to the teeth with game-breaking powers, and Eikthyr made his entrance. Wow, that fight was almost too easy. I mean, I know we prepared an excessive amount and had unfair mechanics on our side, but I thought this fight would have been much harder. I mean, come on. With Eikthr's defeat, the sun shined once again, and peace was restored to the Meadows. Our journey was nearly over. Back at the homestead, I crafted the antler pickaxe from Eikthr's mighty crown. With that at my side, I was now able to mine metals, and it was time to enter the Black Forest once again. But not before I went treasure hunting. You see, the Stagbreaker hits in a very large area, which includes underground, Stones arranged in this type of pattern are known as a Viking graveyard, which means there's buried treasure. Normally you dig it up with a pickaxe, but since Stagbreaker hits underground, during my archaeological endeavor, Old Burrito happened upon a troll, which is an enemy in the Black Forest that is immediately harder than the first boss in the game. This would be the real first boss of the run, a true titan to defeat. He's dead. Back to plundering. With my treasure recovered, we began to enter the Black Forest. My 100th journey through the Meadows was over, but another one was soon to take its place.